Hello, everyone. We're back with Ken Dombrowski, executive life coach and master hypnotist. And today I think we should talk about the trauma of enlightenment. Like, you know, when someone kind of finally has the ability and the aha moment of uncovering the situation that's causing the turmoil in their life and how that looks.
Well, as we talk about all the time, our subconscious mind is constantly trying to protect us from any and all kinds of peril or traumatic experiences or even perceived traumas. So it does a great job at separating, compartmentalizing, burying stuff down, and trying to work past it and all this kind of thing. But it gets to a point to where it just it can't keep doing it anymore. So there's this, as you're saying, this epiphany, aha moment that can happen, and it's not going to set you free. It's the beginning of, oh crap, I can't believe this has been happening. So one of the greatest examples I can give of this, what is it we're talking about, and we see this a lot in people who were sexually abused as a child. Now, of course, it's a hugely awful subject, clearly, but it happens a lot. I'm shocked all the time as to how many people come in my office and they have some story of sexual abuse as a child. It's way more common than you'd probably think. But anyway, most of the time, when it comes to sexual abuse of a child, it's actually very, warm and amicable and friendly, and say, "Oh, hey, sweetheart, come on over here. Let's go in this room and close the door, and we'll play this game. And if you do it right, I'll buy you an ice cream, or I'll give you $1, or I'll buy you your favorite toy, or some kind of thing." So a child is being lured into it, coaxed into it, as though this is a fun thing. And it's our little secret. Now they're part of a secret, which is exciting and intriguing. So that child feels this great sense of significance because I'm in on something that other people aren't. And we're having this fun thing. Well, what a lot of my clients over the years have actually confessed to even is that while they're going through this period of time as a child, ongoing sexual abuse, that they become so accustomed and conditioned to it that they will then even approach the adult who's abusing them and say, "Hey, I want an ice cream." And so they go and do whatever, and that adult buys that child an ice cream. And so they're now the child is propositioning the adult because they don't know how wrong this is. They have no clue. There are going to be a small percentage of child sexual abuse where it comes with violence and aggression. That's going to be a whole different category. We're talking about the massive amount, 70, 80, 90% of this that happens it's all very allured in, warm, and filled with rewards and gifts and stuff. So anyway, here's what happens. When that child who's been in this unfortunate situation, they hit a kind of critical thinking age, starts around 12, 13 years old for most of us. That's when education in the world collides with their experiences. And then they go, holy shit, what me and Uncle Charlie were doing all those years was really fucking wrong. I mean, it was the most horrific thing. And now that's the aha moment. That's the epiphany moment where now they're going to have this incredible amount of anxiety, depression, fear. They're going to feel really bad about themselves because they're also going to feel guilt and shame because they actually participated. So that comes along for the ride too. So the whole thing just crumbles. Even though it hasn't happened in several years, it's when the realization happens. That's the big part of it.
I think this also applies not only to when someone just gets old enough to really understand the ramifications or the situation they were in, but also for the people who go through their life with like some semblance of anxiety or depression or any diagnosis and they're trauma blocking and they have a feeling they're trauma blocking, but they don't know specifically who or what and when. And then when they go through sessions and they figure that out, now you have to deal with everything that you just remembered. So it doesn't have to be something that you kind of like learn when you're older and it makes sense, but also like when you can hit 12 and 13 and that's when you start trauma blocking it, and then it takes you till 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, to understand what you were going through, you're going to have the same thing because you're like, oh my God, like your brain is blocking it for a reason. Mm-hmm. It knows that you're really not capable of handling it, so it's got to get worse before it gets better.
Mm-hmm. It's like opening up a floodgate. Another example I can use also is passive aggressive behavior or passive aggressive abuse, I should say, when we're children. So when you're a child, and let's say you have a parent, sorry, forgive me, but this is usually going to be the mom is usually going to be the one who does passive aggressive because it's more of a female trait.
Men are aggressive.
Men are going to be more aggressive. They're going to be angry. They're going to yell. They're going to, all that kind of stuff. So what that feels like to a child is it's going to have two things happening at the same time. One, I must be really, really bad because my mom is constantly hyper-criticizing everything I say and do, everything I wear. She's criticizing my friends. And, and so that means I must be making a lot of bad decisions. So I'm no good. I'm not worthy. I'm not smart enough. And at the same time, on the other side of that exact same coin is going to be my mom is such a bitch. She's always up my ass. She won't leave me alone. She's always on, down my throat on everything I do. So you see, that's going to be happening simultaneously in that child's mind. So this is the devastating effects of passive aggressive abuse, which we call it death by 1,000 tiny cuts to your soul. Then when that child gets to be mid-late teenage years, they can start, again, that critical thinking age starts coming in, and then they start realizing I feel terrible about myself. I have no energy. I don't have friends. I don't have boyfriend, girlfriend. I'm lacking all this stuff in my life. I'm so unmotivated. Everybody around me seems to have their shit together but me. And then they realize, oh, that's probably because I'm no good, because I've been told it so many times. So you got to realize every time a parent tells their child, even if it makes sense, Lauren here, when she was a little girl, if it was the dead of winter, she would be ready to go to school wearing flip-flops, shorts, and a tank top. Mm-hmm. Sweetheart, you can't wear that. It's freezing cold outside. We need you to put on shoes, socks, jeans, shirt, sweater, jacket, all of that. Then the converse in the middle of summertime. She might come out of her bedroom with boots on, jeans, a sweater, a jacket. Honey, you're going to die. We lived in Las Vegas. So you're going to die if you go outside in 110 degrees dressed like that. So even though I had to correct her, in her mind, that's still criticism. My decision of what I decided to wear today was wrong. So that means I'm wrong. So that means, all kind of cascades into this, all this negativity. So when she gets to that, why do we say teenagers are rebellious? This is a big part of it. Because they got so tired of being told they're wrong by the same two people their entire life, they don't want to hear it from you anymore. So suddenly I'm smarter than everybody, and I'm going to do what I want to do, and I'm not going to let anybody tell me anything else. So all these realizations, they really don't become a problem until they're triggered. And then once they're triggered, once that aha moment hits, now you're living in that life in that way, that misunderstanding.
Yeah, that makes sense. That just makes me think of the time. We actually wrote a series of children's books, and I was supposed to be coloring the illustrations for the children's books. And the biggest time I remember being told I was bad at something from him was he told me my coloring wasn't good enough to be in the final copy of the book. I was pissed. I did not have a good time. I was like, are you kidding me? He was right. It was god awful, but it doesn't change the fact that makes you feel like you're not doing something correct. And that's such a minuscule thing. Like if he was telling me my coloring was bad and I was just, an 8-year-old and it was just a class assignment, like, okay, rude, but this was for a purpose and I just couldn't handle it. So it does happen that way. Again, it doesn't have to be something major. It's the tiny things like parents aren't capable of producing perfect children because you can never, ever, always say the right thing. And I think that's the hardest part for a lot of parents to grasp is you can't possibly produce a person that you don't cause any trauma or harm to. And honestly, the flip side of that is they end up being helicopter parents, and that's the worst thing that you can be for your kid besides straight up abusive, So it's really just the happy mediums, try your best because trauma's going to happen whether you want it to or not. And we all have to kind of work through the different things that have happened to us in our life. There's no choice about it.
Exactly. I like to look at another little example kind of in similar vein. From a child being told no, I'm kind of sticking with that for right now, is that you're going to be told no almost 10,000 times in your life by your parents. Told no. No, we can't have ice cream for dinner. No, we can't jump off the roof and see if we can fly. No, we can't. There's a lot of no's when we can't and we're not able to and we're not gonna and this kind of, or we shouldn't and things like that. So they get so saturated with that they can't hear that anymore. It just really it's like, those fingernails on the chalkboard. So that's where all that rebellion comes from, and that's where it just keeps on triggering long after that, even long after you've grown up and become an adult. Those are still alive and festering under the surface, and they're wanting to be heard and seen and reconciled. They actually want to get out of you. That's why they're such a pest. But then what do we do instead of doing the work to get rid of it, to process it and let it go? We talk about coping mechanisms. I'm going to use smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol, binge eating sugar and carbs. I'm going to use all kinds of other stuff instead of what I should actually be doing.
And that's exactly why a lot of people go through the trauma of enlightenment in their sessions, is because it doesn't have to be one of the specific examples we used. It can be most situations. It's just you have to confront it, and part of confronting it is feeling all the emotions you felt that caused the issues in the first place before you can work through them. So it doesn't have to be situational by any means. It's just a matter of you can't get better until it gets worse. That saying fully applies to what we do. Not that people are having a terrible time in our sessions and it's super grim by any means, but we're talking about the deep stuff, the hard stuff, whether it be something simple or something obviously traumatic.
All good stuff. Yeah. Once again, Lauren, you've characterized it perfectly.
I just let you go, and then I'm like, I can summarize this.
There you go.
Well, thank you so much for that information.
Thank you.
If you guys would like any more info, please visit our website. The link is in the description. Have a great day. Bye now.
Thank you.